Welcome to today's video, which is a long-term review of the Elite Wheel GNAR XCs. And as I promised you in this initial review, we weren't going to baby these wheels, and it wasn't going to be an initial first ride review. Behind us here, we have Skaha Lake in Penticton, British Columbia. And around you here is the very rocky, nasty Skaha Bluffs area for riding, which if you look on Trail Forks is this area right here. I put up a link to a few trails in the description. Look at the glorious terrain here. It just eats tires. These are the specifications for the wheels. Mine weighed in at 1,350 grams. The only issue I really found with the wheels was the rear wheel non-drive side tension. As I previously said, it looked like a ninja throwing star when plotted up on the Park tool. So what I ended up doing is going to the local bike mechanic, and he was quite impressed with the wheels. And here's the tension after he trued them up to his satisfaction. The first part of my test was to duplicate my previous riding conditions with just the wheels swapped out. The control wheels, which I've ridden on my trusty Blur for the last 2 years, have been these Specialized DT Swiss hubs, 28 spokes, Sapum races, with WeAre1 Union rims. These are quite heavy. I think they're about 450, 500 grams, and they're more towards WeAre1's original Enduro offering. So they're a little heavy. Let me show you. There we go. Oh, that's only 1,850 or 60 grams. That is a full 500 grams heavier than the Elite Wheels GNAR XCs. Everything came off of these wheels up to the rotors and rotor bolts, so it's a fair one-to-one comparison, and went on the Elite Wheels GNAR XCs. And what we got here is, in the front is a DHF, I believe it's called, 2.3 EXO casing. And on the back, an underrated tire in my opinion, an EXO 2.3 Aggressor. And front and rear, I am running the rim-packed cross-country rim strips, which fit pretty nicely in here and are easy to get on and off and provide a little bit more protection to the rims. With the beautiful Okanagan Lake in the background, let's talk about our test rig. Is the Santa Cruz Blur 4, which is severely undermatched for my girth. I'll point out to you though that unlike the wimps at Pink Bike, I use manly rocks to support my bike rather than some little stick or glass rod. But the important things are for the test is we've got 115 in the rear and 130. I overforked this thing. It should be only a 120 with a non-step cast Fox 34 from the last generation. A close-up here, you can see that we are fully maxed there and fully maxed there. And as we all know, when it gets fully maxed, that means your wheels are taking it. Oh boy, okay, oh, go. Wouldn't believe how much this bike bottoms out with my girth on it. I've really noticed no difference on the double diamond downs with these wheels. I don't think my fork thinks the same though. Oh, just nasty. A little bit of a bottom out here. Whoop. Oh, that's got to hurt the wheels. It blows my mind how I've lost a pound of rotating weight with basically no compromise. Whoa! One thing, the free hub on these wheels is bloody loud. It's ridiculous.
I've probably done 20 to 30 double diamond features as part of this test, underbiking it.
Okay. Yeah.
The GoPro effect is real, but the hardest feature I've done is called the toilet bowl on a trail called Lowrider. The largest drop I took during the test was approximately 3.5 feet.
Oh, shit. Good Lord. Oh, this is going to be 13 to 1400 watts, I'm sure, to get me up. What's ahead? Oh boy. Ooh.
While I'm rehydrating here, to be clear, I'm riding on trails that most people use heavy-duty trail bikes or enduro bikes on. The front wheel is stiff enough to allow you to do evasive maneuvers on asphalt when rednecks cut you off. Additionally, no issues with stiffness for you to take both hands off of the handlebars and do a WTF maneuver, or give them what we refer to in Canada as the Trudeau. I easily exceeded 50 miles an hour or 70 kilometers an hour on some sections of road.
Overall, during the first underbiking phase of the test, I really haven't noticed any difference between these wheels and the much heavier WeAre1 control wheels. I'm going to use an EXO forecaster in the front. I think it's 2.4. And although I don't have the packaging for it, this is an EXO Plus Recon in the back. That is the absolute minimum in this region you want to use as a tire. Before the Vittoria rim insert disappears into a goo of sealant, I want to compare it to the Rimpact. The Rimpact has much stiffer foam and likely provides a little bit more impact protection. These have slightly more volume. These weigh, checked on the ME Biker scale, 60 grams. These weigh 95. I think in big hits, this is likely to give you a little bit more protection than this one, but this one might be a little bit better if you got to run flat somewhere. I'm trying not to go out of my way to create enemies, but I'm sure I'm going to get a few comments about this. I always recommend when you're using inserts that you first seal up the tire and treat it as if you're not doing inserts to seal off the sidewalls on the EXO and EXO Plus if you're looking at Maxxis. You don't have to do this on the double downs or downhill casing, but I always find you get a leak. The issue is, especially when you have a high volume insert such as this, it doesn't allow sealant to get to portions of the sidewall, which can create a long-term leaking situation. Tubeless install with these Maxxis tires on these GNAR XCs was absolutely a pleasure. Tire glider for the win. Oops. Now, one thing I'll mention is that it's a pain in the ass when, yes, there is the original sealant in there that I used for the sidewalls. With the Vittoria, because it's so flexible, you don't have to fully mount it to get the tire on. When you're using a tire glider, you always got to drive everything to the center channel, but this should be no big deal. Boom. I love the tire glider. I didn't realize this, but while I was doing this, if you're using this Park WH1, is you always do it with the rotors in towards the inside where they're sheltered or protected if you slip or anything. Of course, if you have the cassette out and you slipped, you're just going to take off some skin. You're currently looking down on Summerland, British Columbia, with Penticton far off in the distance and to your right. And that's where the majority of the testing has occurred. But we're over in one of the most fantastic downcountry areas in British Columbia, known as Cartwright Mountain. And I'm right now on the top of the Summit Trail. We've just done about a 750 meter climb, and let me tell you, absolutely no issues with these wheels. The biggest struggle I've had so far is when you go from a trail tire to a more downcountry setup is figuring out your pressures. On the previous setup, I was running 22 in the back and 20 in the front. After screwing around and getting some squiggliness, I'm currently 26 in the back and 22 in the front, without those much more robust rim-packed rim strips. It takes a while to get used to less traction on the super technical or full power ups. I'm going to say when I look at my power meter, I can do bursts short of well over 1,000 watts and up to 1,300. So these wheels are not only getting beaten to death, they're also getting torqued pretty significantly. No flex on these oh geez, oh! I'm going to include that for fairness, but not really noticing any flex on these really tight switchbacks. That was embarrassing. See if I can get this one. Oh yeah. I'm almost too fat to get around that tree. Given that the Blur is at its design white limit with me on it, you know, it's hard to tell if there is any flex, whether it's the tires or this not quite as robust pivot on this bike. Oh. You lose it on this stuff, you lose a little bit of skin. Alrighty, jank. Oh yeah. No notice of flexiness on this absolutely rough stuff. If you're wondering why I'm going to such extents to prove these wheels, I want to be fully confident that they would be able to survive an epic race. Regionally here in BC, we have a couple of long events, say 75 miles, 120 kilometers. And on those events, there's several double diamond moves, and likely you're going to be routed down a couple of diamond trails during the day. And for me, what will be a very long day. So I want to have full confidence that these wheels are going to survive. Once again, you wimpy cycling journalists, notice that it's still standing. No sticks required. Rounding off, during this test, these wheels have been on my Blur for 200 kilometers of riding, over 20 hours with 6,000 meters of climbing, which also means 6,000 meters of descending, of which I would say 4,000 meters of that is on black diamond trails in my local riding area. The distances and elevations and time are pretty much split equally between the underbiking and the downcountry phase of this test. For transparency, here's the spreadsheet showing my ride logs. The original plan was for me to take everything off these wheels, put them in the truing stand, and measure everything again. But using the in-the-frame guide test, there appears to be little, if any, perceivable difference from when I started this test. And all the spoke tensions seem relatively uniform. There's no reason for me to true these wheels. And through the entire test, there hasn't been any spoke popping or anything like that. So there's no reason for me to do further work. We can assume that these wheels have survived this test perfectly. The only thing I've noticed, I put this out here, is right here, there's a little bit of damage from rocks kicking up, but that's not the wheel's fault. That's on me. I don't have much more to say about these wheels other than for $640 US, they represent an incredible value. Elite Wheels, you should be proud of yourself for making such a great product. And I can fully endorse these. And I think when I'm buying mountain bike wheels going forward, I'm likely going to be looking at Elite Wheels. Great job. So with that, like, subscribe. If you got any questions or comments, or you disagree with me, or you just got something to say, put her in the comments below. And with that, ride hard, because I know I'm going out because the weather is fantastic.